Hello everyone, and this is my review for TNA Impact Wrestling on November the 10th, 2016. And well, this episode of TNA Impact was mainly about, one of two things. There was a set of qualifying matches for a potential number one contendership. You had 4 different qualifying matches. I'll get through those throughout the entire show. And then, of course, you also had the World Heavyweight title with Eli Drake going up against Eddie Edwards. But before I fully get into those, let's go ahead and go through some of the other stuff that they did throughout the entire show. One, you had Al Snow with the Tribunal. They had a segment between them. It was like, the Tribunal was going to like honor Al Snow or something in that sense, and it just turns out that they went out there to berate him a bit and then turned on him and started beating down Al Snow, which he ends up getting saved by the guy who happened to be that Al Snow was trying to get rid of the entire time with Muhammad Ali Shira. So Shira came out to try to help, but they both kind of get beaten down and they were left lying afterwards. So that one was an interesting way of going. You also had a backstage segment with Brandy Rhodes and Ali, where Brandy Rhodes is trying to convince Ali to leave Maria and everything in that sense and join her in that fight. But Ali at this point in time is still remaining loyal, even though with her mistreatment from Maria and Laurel Von Ness and everything in that sense, is sticking with them for the time being. And so they're still kind of teasing this, which I feel like this turn should have happened a long time ago with Maria, Ali, and all this stuff already should have ended a while back. Let's see here. What else did we have in here? Because a lot of this stuff. Okay, the two other things to really talk about. One, Gail Kim was coming out to make some kind of announcement. She brings out Jade and everything and starts talking all emotionally. So it seems like she's going to do a retirement speech in some way, shape, or form. But before she fully says what she was going to go ahead and do, they get interrupted by Decay. And Decay itself, and for the most part here, it was pretty much Rosemary taking over after that. You had Jade and Gail Kim out there, and of course Jeremy Borash as well. So Abyss and Crazy Steve had somebody to go after because they still play off of the whole aspect. The only promotion I think now that does any man-on-woman violence or woman-on-man violence in any way is Lucha Underground right now. But everyone else kind of follows the rules, like the men attack the men, the women attack the women, and everything in that sense. So you had Borash out there getting beaten up by Crazy Steve and Abyss, while Rosemary takes out Gail Kim and Jade. So it seems like they're going to be building towards something where Gail Kim is facing off against Rosemary for the title or something in that sense, or it'll be in some other way, shape, or form. Not a bad segment. I thought this segment it came off really good. It put Decay back into a more top light where they had kind of gone to the wayside since Bound for Glory. Now they're coming more into prominence again in some way, shape, or form. So we'll see how everything plays off there. I thought this was a good segment. I've enjoyed Decay stuff for the most part, especially with the Broken Hardys, which, speaking of that, you had Matt Hardy, who has amnesia. And everything's completely role reversed. He's in a sweater vest now and everything. He's also doing most of the work. He wants to build another dining room, even though he has a dining room. So let's build a second one, or something in that sense. And you had bits throughout the entire show where Jeff Hardy, Rebby, and Senor Benjamin were trying to get back Matt Hardy's memories. So they were trying to get him to sing a song with him. So it was they were trying to sing the obsolete song and trying to get him to join along, but he had nothing to do with it or anything in that sense. He was messing up names here and there to go along with it. And it eventually ended with Jeff wanting taking Matt to the Lake of Recreation basically the lake that's on the compound, to go along with it. But Matt Hardy refusing to fully get in any way, shape, or form. And Jeff kind of storms off saying, and the aspect of this is saying is like he's coming back, he's going to go to the Impact Zone and face against the DCC on his own to go along with it. So something to go through next week and everything in that sense. And speaking of the DCC, there's something a little bit later on because they do reveal themselves in this episode, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But throughout the entire night, they started off the show with like Michael Bennett, EC3, Eli Drake, Eddie Edwards, and Moose and everything in that sense. They had talked about these 4 qualifying matches to get into basically a fatal 4-way for number 1 contendership, and the winner of that would face the winner of Eli Drake and Eddie Edwards later that night. Of course, there was an attack where Michael Bennett attack EC3 and Eddie Edwards. Moose comes out and makes the save, chases him off, which led into the first match of the night, which was Moose against Michael Bennett. Not a bad match from the two of them. I thought it was a pretty good one. Michael Bennett goes over with getting in the ring at the last second and getting the count out, so he sneaks his way into a victory and getting into the fatal 4-way, I guess, which would be next week because they didn't do it this week. To go along with it, everything. You also had Abyss going up against EC3. EC3 goes over in the match, qualifying to go forward, which was also a decent match. You had a triple threat match with Trevor Lee, Rockstar Spud. I'm reading off my notes right now. I don't have like full script or anything, but I have notes here. But yeah, Trevor Lee, Rockstar Spud, and DJZ going up in a triple threat match as a qualifying match. Trevor Lee surprisingly goes over. You thought they would put the X Division champion here, but they put Trevor Lee over, so they decided to do put someone else over instead of just the X Division champion having an X Division spot in the terms of potentially qualifying for the World Heavyweight title number 1 contendership. And then you also had Grado and Robbie E get destroyed by Bobby Lashley in a rather quick match. The X Division match also was a rather good spot. I won't say spot fest, but good action. Good spots in there. And the factor that it was going to be for a qualifier to that number 1 contendership match, that it gave it purpose. It gave it a little bit more purpose, which is, well, they really haven't been giving good purpose to the X Division guys as of late. So, yeah, Trevor Lee, Bobby Lashley, Michael Bennett, and EC3 going on to qualify for a number 1 contendership match. Whenever that happens, it ends up happening. Not a bad way of going, especially a way to fill the entire show with matches that at least mean something in some way, shape, or form. It's not just like, oh, this match is happening because it's happening, and everything in that sense. No, they gave it a little bit of meaning to it, and it came off rather well. You also had a bit with Jesse Goddard's confronting Aaron Rex and eventually attacking him when Aaron Rex shows up. Like, Aaron Rex has finally gotten into, like, full-on, I'm above everybody, and and everything in that sense. You're kind of getting a sense of the character now, and I like how the aspect, like when on his right hand, where the 2 fingers that are usually taped but have nothing there, but you see 2 giant rings on it in segments when he's not wrestling, makes you wonder about about his knockout punch and everything in that sense. I kind of like little snippets and touches of that to go along with it. So they're continuing on this bit with Jesse Goddard's and Aaron Rex to go along with it. So we'll see if they have another match or something in that sense to go along with everything. So we'll see where they go with that. This brings to the main event of the night, which was Eli Drake going up against Eddie Edwards. And you know what? There's been one thing I've had an issue with Eli Drake since he has come in. He's always been a great talker and puts on an okay match, but you could tell there's a lot of times he looks like he's lost when he's in the ring in some way, shape, or form. Not here, though. Him and Eddie Edwards gelled really well, or this is an aspect of him finally getting used to the TNA ring or something in that sense. I thought they put on a really good match. Both of these guys did really well. I've always enjoyed Eli Drake's talking and everything in that sense, but this is by far one of the better matches I've ever seen him put together, and the action was good and everything in that sense. And Eddie Edwards pulls out the victory in the end with against Eli Drake. But that wasn't the full end of the story, because after the match, the DCC attacked Eddie Edwards, and no one came out to help out Eddie Edwards or in any way, shape, or form. So you would assume that Jeff Hardy was just coming back and everything in that sense. So that's something for next week and everything in that. But no one from the back end's out helping them. And lo and behold, they reveal themselves after like all the mystery and all the talking, like them talking like anonymous or something in that sense. Throughout the entire time, saying that chaos was coming and everything. The reveals were Eddie Kingston. I'm not too familiar with Eddie Kingston in any way, shape, or form, but so it'll be interesting to see how he plays off and how he is on promo and wrestling. I haven't been able to watch too much of his stuff yet, but the other two, Bram ends out being the other one. And lo and behold, guess who's still at TNA? It's James Storm. This is going to be an interesting way to see how they play off of it now. The fact that they've revealed themselves as these men behind the mask inside of these suits and everything in that sense. And how will they play off of that from here on in? Now, here's the one good thing. They didn't wait as long as they did with the Aces and Eights to reveal these guys. It's been like about a month or so, that a little bit over a month, where Aces and Eights, like you had like periodic reveals over like a 6-7 month period. So they didn't wait so long. So that's not such a bad thing in that sense. We kind of get a better sense of what these guys are going to be and who they are. And maybe we'll get a full-on explanation of what this group is going to be. I mean, everybody, or most people who watch TNA know about James Storm. They know about Bram. They don't know much. They probably know something about Eddie Kingston. I personally don't know anything on his side, so we'll see how he plays off of everything here. So, but you kind of know what to expect a little bit from Bram and from James Storm. Though with Bram, it's interesting because the last time we saw him, he was getting abducted by Decay. So how did he get away from Decay and into this? That's an interesting one, which I doubt they're even going to gloss over. They're just going to kind of gloss over that. That didn't happen. It didn't happen in any way. But we'll see where they go with everything. Overall, this week's Impact, not a bad Impact by any stretch of the imagination. I like the aspect of them revealing the DCC and everything. And also, a lot of the matches ended out having a good chunk of meaning to go along with it, too, throughout the entire night, because they were, for the most part, like qualifying matches for a number one contendership. To the world title, and then you also had a world title match to go along with it. So, overall, matches had some kind of meaning to it. It came off rather well. I would say I enjoyed this Impact. It came off pretty good in the end. So, with that being said, that is my review for TNA Impact Wrestling. I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great day.